Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today, even if our country right now feels like a patient on life support. Because there's been a number of things that have been plaguing this country, whether it's the invasion of illegal immigrants, whether it's being led by a traitorous dictator, aka Keir the Traitor Starmer, whether it's the government's inability or unwillingness to actually admit that we have a serious problem with a rape gang culture, or whether it's the two-tier policing society that are more interested in arresting patriots than those going after our kids. Between all those things, it can feel very, very difficult to actually hold out for some hope. Well, unfortunately, there's something even worse heading our way. It is the Islamophobia law that they are trying to push through into the United Kingdom. So I suspect it won't be long before some of us content creators, YouTubers, or people who dare to speak their mind, I suspect it won't be long before we receive a knock on the door. Who said your knocks on the door involve fast food? Shut up, you. I'm not that bad. Besides, I can't really afford it, not in my current predicament. But yes, it seems the establishment, the oligarchy, are doing everything they can to push through a law about Islamophobia. And I'd like people to bear in mind, Islamophobia is a made-up word. It is a word that you would expect to see in those silly little stories like the Jabberwocky. It has about as much meaning as a shit stick for a toilet. I do the politicians some good though, all the brown nosing they do. Anyway, the government is doing everything they can to try and push this law through to make it impossible to criticise Islam. Oh, isn't it funny how there's never been any laws about criticising Christianity, criticising Hinduism, criticising Catholics, just to name a few. And yet we have people like Angela Rayner and Keir the Traitor Starmer trying to push this through. What's next? A bill that makes it so that you can't criticise the government? Oh wait! We already have one of those. It's just the government has not decided to arrest people for it yet. And for anyone that needs the context to that, I'm talking about the Online Safety Act, where they can effectively lock you up if you dare to speak negatively about the government for up to 18 years. And there's only one type of government or oligarchy that would do that. And that is one that is being run like a dictatorship. And I'm going to tell you right now, this Islamophobia law, where they're asking Muslim counsellors for a definition of Islamophobia, well, they've basically gone straight to the people who want to enslave us for the definition. It is literally the definition of turkeys celebrating Christmas. Those moronic bastards in the houses of treachery, I mean Parliament, or maybe I was right first time, have no idea who they're dealing with. But we do. We've seen it for ourselves. And let me be clear, most of us common sense thinking people, we don't have a problem with all Muslims. We have a problem with the extremist culture. We have a problem with the extremists amongst said religion. There are some Muslims that really have done a lot of good for this country. There are some Muslims who will actually integrate with our society and actually respect us. And some of them have got the guts to call out their extremist brethren, even if it labels them as an apostate. And unlike the cowards who go out of their way to attack women and children to try and prey on them, these people have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to actually stand up and say, you know what, this shit is wrong. Who remembers Raja Miah going out of his way to name and shame all the councillors who were in positions of power after they went out of their way to do the most horrific things to kids, have images of CP and all other sorts of tomfuckery. But here our establishment wants to go to the extremists and say, what do you want the definition to be as far as Islamophobia is concerned, so we can go ahead and enforce it for you like good little bitches. And I do refer to it like that because I have always been like this, and you can say it with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. And the cold, bitter truth on this whole law is it's not going to patch up tensions. It's not going to stop the hate. It's not going to stop people going out of their way to criticize Islam. The only thing you're doing is effectively putting a massive fucking match to the biggest load of explosives known to man. You are going to start a civil war with this. None of us want this civil war, but the cold, bitter truth is, if they import this new law, if they are actually going ahead with this Islamophobia war, then it is completely inevitable at this point. Civil war will become completely unstoppable. And when it happens, the government, the media, the two-tier policing society and the justice system, they won't be able to blame the far right. They won't be able to blame the Tories. They won't be able to blame parents or patriots or citizens. They'll only have themselves to blame because they left the people with no other option. And I don't think Keir the traitor Starmer understands how much danger he's in. Like I've said before, there are some people, not shitloads, maybe not enough, but there are people who have gone out of their way to arm themselves with guns. Hell, there's even a story about an extremist who ended up getting his hands on an AK-47 and a Makarov pistol, who was going to go to Tesco's and basically shoot the place up, allegedly, when he had this alleged kill list, or whatever it was, of all the people who had wronged him and the race traitors. Again, allegedly. It's funny how they use these stories when it comes down to the supposed far right or the white English male. However, they're not willing to do the same thing when it comes down to the people from the usual suspects. But I cannot stress enough that this is all going to basically kick off. This is all going to descend to civil war because the establishment can't read the room. They cannot read the room, and they are literally willing to send this country into an absolute tailspin. The government is supposed to be an embodiment of the people. It is supposed to enact the will of the people. The only will they're enacting is their own. They're not enacting the will of the English people. They're enacting the will of the WEF, the WHO, and of course the Muslim Council of Britain. How many centuries have people spent fighting this shit, only for our oligarchy to turn around and say, let's bring in Islamophobia laws? You might as well be waving a fucking white flag to the Islamic extremists. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. And now we're in a position where it could very well be almost impossible for us to get ourselves back on the right foot. Hello! It may well be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for us to get us in a position where we have even the slightest chance of resolving this peacefully. It seems they have chosen violence at this point, just like Cersei did in the Game of Thrones. And I chose option 2 with the porcelain throne. Anyway, these people in the establishment are fundamentally dangerous. They are absolutely a danger to the public. They are a danger to the English people. They are a danger to all the hard work the English people made over 2,000 years. 2 world wars that our great-grandfathers and our founding fathers fought in for this country to give us freedom. And now our establishment is ready to piss that freedom away. Just like that. What they have done is completely unforgivable. It just sickens me to think that there are still some absolute retards that are still willing to vote for Labour Party, even though we can categorically see how much damage they have done to this country and how much they continue to do to this country. The way I see it, as I've said before, and I will say it here again, the freedom of speech event being held by Tommy Robinson in London really is our last chance. There is no shot that we are going to make it 4 years longer before the next general election. There is no fucking way in hell that we will last that long. The HMS England has literally got multiple holes, multiple breaches in her hull. She is floundering. And Keir the traitor Starmer wants to take a drill and drill more holes in that bitch. Well, as I said, if civil war does come about, you'll only have yourself to blame, Starmer. I can see what's happening right before my very eyes. I can see our country sinking right now. But let me make this absolutely clear. I am not going to go out of my way over in September. I'm not going to go out of my way to incite violence or anything, because that's not my way. The way I see it, I do want this to end peacefully. But I think the cold, bitter truth is there is no way it's going to end peacefully if that law is put into force. That will effectively be the beginning of Sharia law. And I don't want a third world shithole's death cult or their laws in this country, quite frankly. Because at the end of the day, Islam is completely incompatible with Western society. I don't want Sharia law in this country, not when it makes women become second-class citizens and homosexual people end up getting thrown off of buildings or stoned to death. I don't want that ideology. And bear in mind as well, for any dog lovers, they're also not a big fan of dogs as well, and they've even threatened the police, who just sit there ironically nodding like nodding dogs. They sit there and listen to people actively say, we will put those dogs down if they are not controlled. But the mainstream media, of course, are not going to tell you that. Honestly, it makes me feel sick to think that I ended up being taught Islam in year 7. And a slight bit of irony as well is year 7, I mentioned a story about how I ended up getting attacked by like 40, 50 kids in year 7 in winter, and how I was getting ice and snow being thrown at me left, right and centre, and yet I'm the one getting the bollocking because I do it to one person. Clear 2-tier justice in that environment as well. But I am deviating a little bit. The point I'm trying to make is that this Islamophobia law is not going to serve to repair bridges. It's not going to ease tension. It's going to cause it to snap. But Keir the traitor Starmer doesn't care. He doesn't care as long as he gets this. As long as he gets titles, power and money, he doesn't care what he does to our great nation. I'm willing to bet he would even willingly mutiny the crew of the HMS England just to ensure it sinks a little bit faster. But the way I see it is there are a lot of people that are still fast asleep about the topic of Islam. But I guarantee you, if some of these people that are fast asleep, especially the women, actually started cluing themselves up, even just for like 5 or 10 minutes a day, on the so-called religion of peace, I guarantee you the right-wing movement would grow overnight, just like that. Because they would start to see, well, hang on a minute, if I get Islam in this country, if Sharia law becomes a part of this country, I'm going to have to dress in a full bloody dress that covers every part of my skin, and I could get a bollocking if I even show the slightest bit of ankle, let alone a bit of leg. Or the fact that they are willing to go out of their way to say it's perfectly okay to beat your wives. I don't know about you, but I don't think it's okay to beat your wife, because that's the person that you're supposed to devote undying love to. Like, I'm no expert in love and marriage, although I have got the other half. Anyway, I'm not an expert on marriage and what have you. But last time I checked, I thought husband and wife were supposed to show undying love to one another, not a showcase of a male's power of beating a woman as if she's his property.
I don't agree with that at all. And yet Keir the traitor Starmer and all the ponces in the houses of treachery, they want to ignore this stuff. They want to ignore the categorical facts of how intolerant and how barbaric this religion really is. And speaking of which, over in Epping, Keir the traitor Starmer has, of all the things he could comment on, the fact the police tried to run down a protester, the fact that there were a load of invaders that were housed up in hotels that potentially are a real danger to the kids, the fact that one has been charged with a serious crime against a kid, the fact that our two-tier policing society are busing domestic terrorists over to effectively stir the pot and agitate a peaceful protest. What does Keir the traitor Starmer do? He talks about the far right. He talks about the violence against the police. And let me be clear, I don't condone the violence against the police. Some poor copper got a bottle in his face. However, I think my priorities, they would be a little bit more focused on the children right now. And something else you've got to bear in mind is the police don't even show the slightest bit of respect to us in some cases. As I've said before, there was one man who was merely expressing his frustration, his right to freedom of speech under Article 10. He was expressing his frustrations at how this was being handled. And what did this copper do, this riot copper? Smacked him straight in the face with a riot shield, knocked some of his teeth out. But we're supposed to show sympathy for the police. Kind of hard to do that when you have stories like that.
Thank you. But you can't honestly expect us to show you any sympathy when you're literally going out of your way to fucking try and kill our people. You can't expect us to show you any sympathy when you literally try to drive a van into a person and then smack someone's teeth out with a riot shield. You wouldn't dare do that if it was the Islamic community, would you, two-tier police? You wouldn't even think, let alone actually do that kind of shit to the Islamic community, or Just Stop Oil, or Insular Britain, or Black Lives Matter, just to name a few. You wouldn't be caught dead doing it. Because I'll tell you right now, if you did that to the Islamic community, what you saw in Epping, my God, it would pale in comparison. And rather than spend your time trying to police us, why don't you put those resources somewhere more useful? I don't know, protecting our kids, protecting our women, protecting our country from foreign invaders. Because last time I checked, we should be putting our own people first. Fuck the foreign people, fuck the Islamic invaders, put England first. I know some people won't like the way I say it, but as I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'm not going to mince my words. We should not be making our priority the foreign invaders. We should not be focusing on petty issues like the LGBTQ woke brigade. We should be putting our own people first. Because at the end of the day, it is the white working class in most cases who help keep this country running, that pay your fucking taxes, Keir the traitor Starmer. And back in ye olde days, when there was a lot more of us, we were the ones responsible for keeping the fucking country safe, quite frankly. You do well to remember that. You do well to remember that when you think back in the day, you had to be 6 feet high to see over a standard crowd. You do well to remember that when you had to be physically fit, unlike me, to be able to go and catch these criminals. Back then, police were hired based off of meritocracy, not whether or not you tick a fucking box. So no, I'm not going to show any sympathy for our two-tier police when they can't even do their job. And those good police officers, what few remain, usually end up getting fired from their jobs. Respect is actually a two-way street, last time I checked. But I tell you what, I'm going to make you a one-time offer. Limited time, because obviously this is based off of the tensions in the United Kingdom, which are already pretty fucking high right now. Are you ready for it? I know it's going to be very, very complicated, isn't it? You do your job properly and don't be a politically biased force or Keir the Traitor Starmer's stormtroopers, and we'll treat you with respect. Anything wrong with that deal? Because that's the thing. We, the English people, are not thugs, as Nigel farage made us out to be again, because he used the usual slur of, oh, there was the usual far-right thugs. Well, you know what that's going to do? It's actually a coincidence, because I didn't mean to take these home. Do you know what that does? In one ear and out the other. People are eventually going to wear ear defenders, metaphorically speaking, for all the crap that you're spewing, Nigel farage. These people are not far-right thugs. In fact, one of these women made it very fucking clear why a lot of these people came out into Epping. They came out not because they're far-right, but because they're concerned for their kids. And our two-tier policing society needs to understand that very fucking quickly. Because, as I said, this country is all but ready to explode. This country is all but ready for a civil war, which is going to be catastrophic on all sides. But especially for Keir the Traitor Starmer, because there will be people who will hunt him down mercilessly. I don't want it to descend to civil war, and I would never condone it or the riots. But I would completely understand if people decide that's what they want to do. Because they feel like they've been let down, they feel like they can't do anything else, they feel like all other avenues have failed, and they feel like the government is putting them in danger deliberately. That's the way to look at it. If our two-tier police are not going to start doing their jobs, we are going to do it for them. And they really will have a problem then. Because we're not going to use kid gloves. We're going to take out the trash and place it in the dustbin of history. We are not going to stand idly by while our two-tier police and Keir the Traitor Starmer freely hands away our women and kids to Islamic rape gangs. We are not going to tolerate it. So either do your fucking job, or anything that happens to you, you only have yourselves to blame. Quite frankly. No one else is doing this. We're not going out of our way to actively hate on certain people. We're not going out of our way to want violence. We're not going out of our way to break the laws. There may be the odd 1 in 100,000 nut jobs who might be in it to commit crime, and I would actively condemn them for it. But most of us people just want the government and the police to do their fucking job and protect our people. Keir the Traitor Starmer, though, wants to let in the Afghanis, who, bear in mind, statistics already came out that they, alongside the Eritreans, were 20 times more likely to commit crimes of a sexual nature over an English national. 25,000 of them at £6 or £7 billion worth of cost to the taxpayer. And people wonder why we're so pissed off. And yes, a lot of us do have the old ear defenders in for the mainstream media, who are not people who are classed as journalists. They're a cult. They are a cult of activists who do everything based off of opinions and based off of bias rather than actual facts. But again, they're not going to tell you that. But the bottom line is this. This Islamophobia law could literally be the spark that blows this whole thing open. That spark could literally send the entire United Kingdom into absolute anarchy and civil war. Because Keir the traitor Starmer is more interested in fielding power for himself than actually doing right by the people he's supposed to serve. I know people will say that protect and serve is more the American side of things, but it doesn't change the fact that the same principle also applies here in the UK with the Prime Minister. His duty is to protect the realm and all of its inhabitants inside of it. Not one section of the community, the sectarian bastard. But our two-tier police need to pull their heads out of their arses, clear up the shit from their faces, and actually do their job properly. Because the thing is, I think they do understand most of us don't want to cause trouble. But the thing is, a lot of them have no fucking idea how to actually police a peaceful protest. They're struggling. That's why they're getting people to agitate the crowd. That way, when it gets violent, then they can police that, because that's the only fucking thing these cavemen know how to do. I know that's going to be a very harsh opinion of them in some people's eyes, but I can't see them as anything else right now. Think about it. They're the ones going around with a fucking baton, beating the shit out of anyone who even shows the slightest sign of overexcitedness, or in one person's case, slam a riot shield in someone's face when they dare to express their freedom of speech and question why the fuck the police aren't doing their job. You want sympathy from us? Do your fucking job. You want us to respect you? Do your fucking job. You want people to actually treat you like you belong? Do your fucking job. I know it's a novel concept for the woke brigade and the ones that like to wear pride rainbows on their faces or spray up their cars. But last time I checked, the police's job is to police the streets and not the tweets. Their job is to be an apolitical force that protects the people and keeps the peace. Right now, they're not the peacekeepers, they're the fight instigators. They are the warmongers, if you will. Because one day, you know what's going to happen? Do you honestly know what's going to happen? And here's a warning for another airsoft gun I have. All it's going to take is one armed officer who pulls up his weapon and then takes the shot at some innocent civilian, and they die from it. Just like that. Civil war. And just to be clear, that this is not a real gun. Sure, you can see the BBs in there. And as I've said before, and for context, two-tone guns, so the blue and the tan, do not require a UCARA license. I know that some people don't come here to hear about this, but I say it because it provides very fucking important context, and maybe one day I'll be using this thing in an airsoft centre. Who knows? At least then I can enjoy a combat sim in a fun environment, hopefully, as long as nobody's trying to fucking gouge each other's eyes out and what have you. And I can actually get back into doing something that I actually love and enjoy, that isn't sitting back there on my computer. But you have been warned, police. You are effectively the main people that people have got their eyes on. Right now, they've got their sights on you. They have got their sights on you big time. And they are waiting for you to make that mistake. And when that happens, and some poor innocent civilian, or perish the thought a child, gets killed on the back of your actions, that would be the spark that sends the UK into civil war.